Brian bathing himself again?
Yeah, he's licking himself clean in his little cat tree. You know, it's rare that we get the episode title in the first minute, but here we are.
What a terrible mental image.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I feel. I called him out. He didn't show, and so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks. This is Meet Me at Applebee's. Welcome back. We are your Ty Gibbs Tailcast. It is Brian K. here once again with my co-host Rob and Ashley. Folks, how are we doing this week?
Okay, I was doing a little bit better before you said that, but I'm hanging in there. You sure love.
I don't know where to go after that.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next week.
You guys put that thought in my head, so you're to blame.
Tail time. Oh, God. Where did Ty end up at Martinsville? Do we know?
Yeah, I don't care.
If he's in the top 10 again, I'm going to be pissed.
I think he was the top 15. I'll look it up here.
He wasn't a factor. Thankfully, he hasn't really been a factor this season. It's bad enough that we had to hear him, get 4 top 10s or whatever, and that's enough. It's all the Ty. It's all the Ty.
That's enough.
All the Ty news I need.
You said 18?
Yeah.
That's the top 10 at Martinsville in this configuration.
Well, Martinsville happened this week, huh?
Yeah, we just kind of jumped right into that. Not a whole lot to talk about at that one.
Well, I mean, there's a tiny
the cup
bit
race anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the truck race, I got to admit, I fell asleep and missed the end because that was a whole shit show with the rain tires and all the other nonsense.
Yeah, it got really dragged out.
Yeah, what did y'all think of the rain tire thing? I don't even think we really got to see what they would do in the rain at all.
No. Well, no,
I don't think we'll ever get to see.
Well, this NASCAR said that they could have started 10 to 20 minutes earlier, and the track probably would have been a bit more wet. It doesn't sound like, but yeah, like Ashley said, it doesn't sound like these tires are ever going to be used during actual rain on an oval. It seems like they did what they were supposed to as far as allowing them to race like they normally would on a slightly wet track.
Yeah,
somebody had to told the Fox booth. It wasn't a shit show, but somebody had to told the booth about that because they were talking about it like we were about to watch a fucking Formula One race.
I mean, it's like, who was it? Timmy Hill said on over his radio that NASCAR basically just made each team spend $2,400 to help them dry the track.
He did say that. I think they ought to bolt them shits on in the dry and just let them run those from now on. I thought the most interesting part of the race was when they were running those tires with the grooves in them, and they were actually sliding around, and you could actually kind of see who had what, and I really enjoyed the shit out of that, and I was actually very excited that they were going to keep them on for a little while, but then they brought them down pretty quickly and switched to the slicks, and it was kind of back to business as usual. But
it definitely sounded like a lot of the drivers enjoyed the tires, and maybe it'd be neat if NASCAR, or Goodyear rather, tried that compound or a similar compound for, regular tires, just because there was more fall off. And that's what everybody bitches about with the current setup is the tires have no fall off. And that's why lap times stay the way they are. And that's all shit that I am not technical enough to really completely understand or even talk about. I mean, I understand it, but this isn't what this show is.
No, I'd say 95% of the people bitching about it have no idea what they're talking about when they regurgitate that shit. But I don't need to know that the cup race was pretty boring. I did enjoy it. I'll say that. It wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't a thing. I didn't flip the TV off, literally and figuratively,
Yeah, it was cool to see. Obviously, as we know, we're a modified podcast. It was great to see Priest get the pole and lead the first portion of the race, and that was it for him. He worked back up to a top 15 finish, which was good to see. But
Yep.
you know, it was just a race all about strategy and pit stops and sequences and all sorts of shit that just, you know, for as good as Richmond was a surprisingly good race. Martinsville, I had hopes that it would be a similar situation. Nope, not at all.
Yeah. But hey, Chase is back.
He's back, baby.
True Love's got something to watch now.
Yeah. I feel like I've been watching like spring training or preseason past 6 weeks.
I haven't missed him all that much, but I don't really usually pay attention to Chase. But I gotta say,
definitely, it's been difficult. It's weird not having your favorite driver to pull for every week.
yeah,
So.
yeah, it happened to me a couple years ago for much different reasons. We don't got to go into that, although we did get some redemption this weekend, a big Kyle Larson win in Martinsville. And I don't know, I personally felt bittersweet about that after he was kind of rude to Ryan Preece the week before. But still, another win for Larson, another win for Hendrick. It seems like we're in for a nice little stretch of, 4 of 9 races so far? Hendrick wins?
I think so, yeah. Yep.
5 for the engine shop if you count Ricky Stenhouse Jr. winning the Daytona 500. So,
has Ford even won a race yet?
yes.
Logano.
Shit, that's right. Yeah, Logano did win one. You know, I guess we'll see what happens at Talladega this week, but we'll get to that later in the show.
Yes, we will. See, Chase ends up right back on that disabled list.
What's that evil on me? I think he did fine. He got out of the car. He was good.
Yeah, he
got a top 10.
Speaking of Hendricks, folks, wow, I just pulled the
What
ultimate.
are you? The Kroger's.
Speaking of Hendrick, of course, they got their points returned to them by the appeals committee. Breaking news, folks. I'm sure this is already out in the world before we get to it because I read it on Twitter, so it's going to be everywhere by the time this is released. But Colleague just got their points awarded back by the final appeals board. So Justin Haley's going to retain wherever he was in the points before they got that big penalty for the louvers from a few weeks ago. So congratulations, appeals committee.
Yeah. I think NASCAR requested that they do that.
I found that interesting. Yeah, they are like, we don't want to do this.
Equality.
Well, I mean, if you look at it from NASCAR's perspective, it makes them look stupid and also makes the committee look stupid. And then actually, no, what this is a way to combat all the rumors that Hendrick just paid this off, and that's why Colleague didn't get their points back. Like this helps quell that, and NASCAR's not playing favorites, and all that shit.
So you mean to tell me that Hendrick also paid for Colleague's appeal to be overturned? Huh? Is that what you're telling me?
That's what a Darth would tell you, Rob. I think.
Old Slick Rick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. I'm just kidding. That's not how I feel about that. But
well, what kind of cars are those panel members driving? I guess these days that's what you want to watch out for. If there's one of those Hendrick cars stickers on the back of it, maybe do some digging.
Seriously. Speaking of Chase, one more thing about him. And did y'all see the Fox broadcast really just wanted Bubba Wallace to get mad at him? Like there was a spirited conversation after the race, which turned out to be just Bubba and Chase goofing off. I want to say it was in the middle of Kyle Larson's victory lane interview. They had a split screen with Bubba waving his arms around, expecting him to throw water on him like he did for Bowman. But it turns out they were just having a nice conversation. They really wanted Bubba to just be an asshole again.
I mean,
that was funny.
It's not like those two had any incidents on track, and even if they fucking did, the broadcast probably would have missed it. Or I don't know where that whole narrative came from and why people. It's just insane. It's just another one of those Bubba witch hunt bullshit things that is a constant in sport. So
Larson did a burnout for 20 minutes, so they were probably looking for.
Well, that was sick.
Something else.
Yeah, that was sick. He burned that thing down. But yeah,
not literally
like
John Hunter
catch on fire.
Yeah, John Hunter Nemechek caught his damn car on fire.
That thing fucking exploded.
That was, I mean, it was cool. It was definitely ridiculous. I don't know how that happened because the way Zane Smith's his truck caught on fire, that made more sense. It was a lot slower. With John Hunter, it was just burning out all of a sudden. Just burst into fucking flames. That was wild.
Did he have the mud flaps on? Maybe it was his Yosemite
he
Sam mud flaps that caught fire.
Well, yeah,
Things are
it
highly
had,
combustible.
yeah, it had to have been it was just so different from Zane's. That was the weird thing. But we didn't really talk too much about the truck race other than the tire situation. And I guess we got to go back and mention one thing. And I have to make a confession. I know a few weeks ago, when he won, I admitted I kind of liked Carson Hocevar, and I know you guys have.
Let me sit down for this one. Hold on.
I know you guys have some opinions and aren't a big fan, and you have valid reasons. And you know what? After Friday night, I think I'm finally with you guys. I finally get it. I finally get it. He made the most egregious attempt at spinning somebody out and then spinning himself out I have seen in years, and he apparently blamed it on his tire going flat, and your front wheels don't turn if your rear tire's going flat like that.
Yeah, your wheel don't jerk to the left either. You can kind of see that through the windshield a little bit. But
yeah, so
he blamed it on the wrong tire that wasn't even flat. So get your story straight before you try to blame those poor tires.
Yeah, I think you know that and seeing some disturbing maybe some disturbing Michael Waltrip, Carson, what do they call that where they write up the fake sex stories? I forget. Fan fiction? That's it. Some Carson and Mikey fan fiction that I might have accidentally stumbled upon in a certain Facebook group.
Oh no.
What kind of dark Facebook groups
Rob's in the group
exploring in your spare time?
I got some of that content filtered out, I guess, because I didn't see that shit.
It wasn't very deep, but there was just like one little fan fiction thing that I saw.
Yeah.
I was like,
She said,
okay.
Jesus.
I
don't want to waste a whole lot of breath on Carson Hocevar here, but I just don't understand, like, what does it take to teach this fucking guy a lesson about hooking people like that? It's not the first time he did. He did it at IRP. He did it again this weekend to Tanner Gray. And it was he didn't get Tanner Gray this way. But had he, if he would have collected about half the field.
Yeah.
And, I think NASCAR did the right thing. They held him for 2 laps. To me, that's a decent enough penalty in the moment, Yeah. But at what point does this sort of thing, I don't know, Bubba got the book thrown at him for doing something like that. And granted, it was higher speeds and way more violence, and it's a Cup Series, and those cars can just shatter drivers and their brittle bones.
Yeah, I think I think it's probably going to take something like that on a bigger track. Like I think it's going to take another Hornaday Kyle Busch type wreck, where it's that bad and that like, oh, he very clearly meant to put him in the wall badly. That might be what does it, and he gets suspended.
Yeah, he has like multiple offenses at this point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He hasn't. Fortunately, he hasn't hurt anybody yet, or hurt himself. I guess that's what I'm saying. And unfortunately, maybe that's what it's going to take. I don't know. I don't want to see that. But apparently, whatever all the shit they've done to him so far, he hasn't learned.
I'll say this, and I don't want NASCAR to look at Formula One for guidance on how to run their show at all.
Yeah.
But I do think some sort of license system, not the super licenses per se, but the penalty points that you can get against your own license in Formula One would be a nice sort of way to handle something like this. In F1, it's 10, I think. You get 10 points and you get parked for a weekend. Mm-hmm. And they can administer them however they feel is necessary. So it's not a points fine. It's not whatever. Like if you get into some beef like Danny did with Chastain and you just can't let go, you want to use them as an extra set of 4 tires. Great. That's 3 points on your license, but there's no points or anything. But once you cross that threshold, then you're parked for a weekend. And I feel like maybe some sort of system like that could help in NASCAR. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But I just don't know how you effectively police something like this when it's just so egregious and ridiculous. And it's not just Carson who does this by any means. He's the one who provides us with the most obvious examples of it. Yeah. But I don't know. It just sucks. I hate that shit.
Well, I mean, as of right now, NASCAR can't even figure out how to, if they are or aren't going to penalize drivers for causing intentional wrecks and talking about it. So to try to give them the opportunity to create some sort of points penalization system. Yeah, good fucking luck. It's a smart idea. I'm totally with it, but that ain't gonna happen.
That's like the one thing I see coming from Europe that would actually benefit us. It would be fair, I think. And again, anytime you introduce new ways to penalize people, people are going to find problems with it. And there's no perfect system, but that's the only thing I can think of that would potentially bring some sort of equity here and allow drivers to still get a little rough when they need to, but also penalize guys like Carson for doing shit like that, which is completely out of pocket and unnecessary.
Yeah.
Fuck. God. I thought I would have shot a old granddad after that. That was like a fucking cable news sign off right there. Hell yeah.
And now on to someone who is probably a big fan of certain cable news networks. Uncle Kenny is back.
Uncle Kenny, baby.
Uncle Kenny had a few videos over the weekend.
He's been busy on the internet, man. I'm telling you. All great content.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe you guys could even agree this week.
Yeah, I did enjoy this one, yeah.
So first off, there's a couple of them. Let's talk about the Nashville one first, because our other one kind of leads into a different segment. But Kenny Wallace paid a visit to the Nashville Fairgrounds, drove up to the site where the track is at. Of course, there's a new stadium out there. There's all sorts of new development. I don't know if you guys have been to Nashville anytime in the past couple of years, but it just looks like fucking SimCity 3000 out there or whatever. There's just, new development everywhere. There's fucking cranes everywhere. It's unrecognizable. And out by the Speedway in particular, there's so much new development out there. And Kenny went to check it out since, we've talked about Nashville before on this show and how it's a very contentious issue with some local residents, but it's not really old school, long time residents as far as I can tell. It's more folks that are moving in next to a racetrack and bitching about it.
Of course, which is a common thing that happens all over the place as far as, abandoned, forgotten racetracks. Like this is that pattern has happened time after time after time. And yeah, Ashley and I have been, I know she's been there more than once, but we went, I think the last time we went was 2021. We went to the SRX race, and yeah, it is insane. Like the condos or apartments, whatever you want to call them, are literally feet from the back of the grandstands. Like none of that shit. None of that shit was there when we were there. It was just like a field.
When me and Brian were there for the SRX race, that area was being used for like the merch haulers and like the food vendors and show cars and shit like that. And
like, I didn't even know how they're going to put a fence up between that or once people are living in it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And now they're talking about, putting other grandstands up. And, obviously I have hope for NASCAR coming back there, but I don't know where they're going to put anybody at this point.
Yeah, it was quite a shock for me to see that, because I've been to Nashville since then, but I haven't gone to the actual racetrack since I think 2016. I went to a late model test there, or I snuck into one rather. I wasn't invited by any means, but we went and did a beer run and heard cars on track and snuck in and sat and watched Sterling Marlin and a couple guys run their super lates around there. It was pretty cool. But back in those days, it was just, it was, suburban Tennessee, lots of trees everywhere. I think Santa's was the only place around there you could get beers, just, a few blocks away. Maybe my geography's warped now, but yeah, to see the change out there, just how many trees are gone and what's been put up, it's fucking insane. And I don't think anyone has really, unless you live in Nashville, has really seen this transformation firsthand. And I think the battle to get this, the Cup Series there, or NASCAR there in general, is probably a lot steeper than people might realize.
I think especially once people move into those apartments, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, but I recommend watching this video so you can see for yourself. Kenny's he's actually the only guy I've seen really get his boots on the ground there and talk about it and show what it actually looks like. Because networks aren't going to do that shit, because they want NASCAR to go there so they can show the race, but they're not going to show the development. They're not going to show that it's a doomed project necessarily. And I don't know if it is, but man, I don't know. If you live in Nashville, do what you can to sign whatever petitions you got to. Because this is just another example of all the cool shit that makes a place special getting pushed out by this sort of homogenous development. It's not just racetracks, it's venues, it's bars, it's culture, it's everything. Poor people, for fuck's sake. Like, this is just, watch this video though. I'm telling you, we'll put a link up in the show notes. So Uncle Kenny out there doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. And some slightly more, the funny part of the video is Kenny he just waltzes into the track, and
Trespasses.
Yeah, he trespasses. But he runs into this maintenance worker guy who he's just trying to do his job. And to be fair, the guy seems somewhat excited, but you can't really tell because he kind of looks like he's going to cry the whole time. And he just keeps telling him how he watches the show. And this guy's probably in his 40s or 50s. And he looks like younger, but then also older. It's just, to me, the whole
Life's
interaction.
been hard on him.
Yeah.
Classic Southern man.
Yeah, this fucking guy. Kenny keeps putting his arm around him, and he seems to be really enjoying his time with Kenny. So it was just very sweet and weird. So I got a kick out of that.
That rules. But yeah, I guess I got one more thing. I just like, if you have a chance to go to the fairgrounds while it's still there, not saying it's completely doomed or anything. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Just go see this place. It's an incredible racetrack. They are racing there right now. There's about 10 shows over the summer, and then of course the All-American 400, lots of super late model stuff. I think that new ASA tour is going there. I would say it's as historic and special as a place like North Wilkesboro, only it just never really shut down. So if you have a chance to go see the high banks at Nashville, please do it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I know we both enjoyed our time at the SRX race. It was such a cool place. Yeah, it definitely felt like, kind of like, I haven't been to Wilkesboro yet, but that sort of similar vibe of stepping back in time. Like, I'm just so used to going to like actual NASCAR facilities or like my local short tracks. And this was just something completely different. And yeah, I definitely want to see a little more competitive race there at some point. And yeah, I would love, I really hope NASCAR, and even if it's trucks or Xfinity makes it there, like Cup still seems like a stretch, but if they did an Xfinity race, I'd probably make sure I'm there no matter what.
Yeah, I might have to go to that. Yep, absolutely.
Or if you're looking for an apartment in Nashville, there's 900 of them
Yeah.
opening up soon.
Seriously, who is the fucking target market for that?
People that love racing and soccer because you are a stone's throw away.
See, I don't love soccer,
insane.
but that's me. But there's no way we can afford that shit, man.
I don't know.
But yeah, Kenny Wallace also, again, it was a busy weekend on social media with him. When he wasn't fighting with folks online about his race day show being free to watch on Facebook, which was pretty funny. He was out racing, what are they, B-mods?
Yeah, I think
USRA mod, whatever the modifieds he races. I make fun of modifieds all the time. Not the pavement ones, but the dirt ones. B mods, X mods, L mods, 15, whatever the fuck they are. Those silly little dirt modifieds that slow up every World of Outlaws show that we watch.
Yeah, I don't like those ones.
They're fine. If I ever drove a race car, I'm pretty sure it'd end up being one of those because of all the shit I've talked. But Kenny runs those things, and he has a good time with him. He was out at Highland Speedway over the weekend. And there was a tornado warning as he was lining up for heats, and they had to evacuate the track and get the hell out of there. And pretty intense video coming from him. Again, more boots on the ground kind of stuff, just him and his boys just rolling away in a truck, getting away from this tornado. And several posts of it. And I don't know if you guys have ever been in Tornado Alley or grown up in an area like that. Like, I guess you both have probably experienced this, but just hearing those tornado sirens and just like, that feeling of, what the fuck are we going to do now? That comes over you when those things start to go off. Like,
I actually haven't. Both my hometown and here in Cleveland, like, this is technically the Midwest, but it's about as northeast as the Midwest gets. And there's no tornadoes on the lake.
Yeah, you're pretty far up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this brings us to our dart for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Kenny's you could probably pick a dart for the week just off Kenny's posts alone every single week, just because he's so prolific and invites a certain type of race fan to comment on everything he posts. But there was an update on them leaving the track. And everyone got out of there okay. No one was hurt by any of this. I'm pretty sure the town escaped any sort of super serious damage. There was one race team that had their trailer flipped over, but they escaped without injury. Just some bruised equipment, and they'll get through that.
Yeah.
But Kenny Wallace posts update on the horrible weather last night leaving the Highland Speedway in Highland, Illinois. It's a video of him talking about how they made it out okay, and etc. I believe he's sitting on his couch sipping tea in his little bathrobe like he always does. And Andrews Auto Sales 74, this is on Instagram, posts, "It's not God," in all caps. "It's the government and their weather modifications."
Yep, that's it. You got it, bud.
That's your dart
You
for the
figured
week,
it out.
buddy. Yeah. Now, listen, y'all Google the HARP program. That's some real shit. But I bet you this dude doesn't know how many A's are in the spelling of HARP for that. So he stole my dart for the week. He's commenting about clandestine operations and top secret shit in Kenny Wallace's comments about tornadoes. So you're my dart for the week, buddy. I don't really have a judgment for you other than maybe just, again, go outside and take a deep breath and, enjoy that weather that China made for you specifically.
Maybe don't buy anything from his auto sales either.
Yeah. You want to buy a Tacoma with a rusted frame, I got a place to send you. So.
Now, moving on to our video of the week. At first glance, this guy that we're going to talk about here in a minute seems like a DARF, but believe me, he's not a DARF because he is not a race fan. I don't care what he says. So this video of the week, it is much different than anything else we've shown so far because actually there's no racing in it, but it's about a race car. So obviously I watch a lot of old racing shit on YouTube. I also watch a few car guys. Like I watch Hoovie's Garage and some Cletus stuff. And there's a channel called Curious Cars I like, and a few other random car videos here and there. And one car guy came up, and his name is Mr. Random Reviews. Now, I looked at this guy's channel, and he has like a pile of Crown Vics and Panther cars is what he calls them, which I guess is the platform that the Crown Vic and Mercury Cougar and all those things
it's like
on.
old cop cars.
Like loves these fucking things. And he reviews video games and RC cars and stuff. Basically, he's just this he's from Tennessee. He looks like he's in his 30s. Just some white trash dude who has a YouTube channel. And he, rather than get another Crown Vic, he decided to buy an old stock car. Now, this video, let me get the title here real quick because the title really kind of says it all.
I got it right here.
I bought an old 3rd gen Chevy Lumina NASCAR stock car, and it's a video. The screenshot is a photo of him with like his hand over his face and says "bad idea" over the car. Because this is a horrible idea. Now,
things did not go as planned.
right off the bat, he's apologizing for this. He says things didn't go how it was supposed to. He starts off by describing the car as a 1997 4th gen NASCAR Chevy Lumina, which is not what it is at all.
I bought it way too square for that shit, man.
It's definitely a 3rd gen Lumina with a shitty Jegs split Chevy Lumina nose on the front of it. It's very clearly not a cup car. It's an ARCA car. It's got ARCA stickers all over it. It's got dirt tires on it. It was probably an old cup car at one point because that's what most ARCA cars are. But this guy definitely just bought some old guy's old ARCA car that he's been sitting in his garage for 20 something years. He compares the car to what he calls the closest thing he owns to a race car, which is some Roush-tuned Crown Vic with 2 different fucking headlights. I don't know what the hell that is.
What the fuck was up with that, by the way? The mismatched headlights?
I got to go back and figure out the origin story for that.
We're not talking bulbs, folks. We're talking 2 different assemblies. Completely different headlight assemblies on this motherfucker.
It's very clearly a style choice for him, and I don't know why, but, he's got some interesting style choices.
He's a very stylish man.
So he did mention that he doesn't know anything about the car, which is clear.
Yep.
He did say that I believe it was inside the car somewhere on the sheet metal. It said Scott Riggs, 1999.
No,
and a Sharpie.
I am going to guarantee. Yeah, he's like, that's all I could find out about the car. So that means Scott Riggs signed that car at the one ARCA race this guy ran, because I looked it up. The guy who owned the car, his name was Jim Tuggle.
Jim Tuggle.
Jim Tuggle. Racing Reference says that car was ran once in 1999, apparently, at some Illinois race.
Yeah.
But this guy does not know shit about cars at all.
No. He definitely doesn't. And he certainly has fun with it.
He tries to compare. He's like, this is what my quote unquote race car sounds like. And he starts up the shitty Ford and it sounds like a normal Ford. He's like, then he starts up the Lumina and there's a headphone warning on. He's like, if Satan owned a car, it would sound something like this. And it's,
I mean, I'll admit it sounds pretty good, but he just redlines the shit out of it.
yeah, just immediately they start the car and just fucking right to the gas immediately. Just immediately.
All the comments are just like, do not do that ever again, please. Because it sounds like it's tuned pretty well, to be honest.
Again, that guy probably, he rode it once. He didn't wreck the car, put it in the garage, and never ran it again.
So one thing he did say is that the guy he bought it from was racing dirt with it, which I don't
Arca runs on dirt.
That.
No, Arca runs on dirt.
They do, but did they back then?
Yeah, they did. Like I said, I looked it up. It was a dirt race, and there's dirt tires on the car.
I know that was what was confusing to me, was the fact that it had dirt tires on it. It's like, I don't think anybody's running this at like a fucking street stock show, or like what class at your local short track. You just start dropping off at Cherokee with one of those things. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Let's see. He calls it a NASCAR, which that is like pet peeve number 1 for me with anyone who doesn't know shit about racing and anything about NASCAR. When they call the cars a NASCAR, fuck you. I hate you.
You remember earlier when I called it Hendricks by mistake? Same shit.
Same thing.
That's a little less egregious. Like I try not to be a gatekeeper with racing fandom, but there, that's going to get me to not want to talk to you. Yeah. They have trouble unloading the car off the trailer.
They do.
Because he runs out of fucking gas. Like, that's the problem. They run out of gas in the car. The car is supposed to run on 114 octane. Couldn't get that at the time, so they just put 93 in it and threw some octane booster, put some 104 in it, so that got it off the trailer. And here we go. This is where it gets good. So he starts telling the story about how he's like, well, I got this car and I wanted to put it in my like wife's aunt's garage because it's a nice garage and there's room and it's out of the elements and stuff. Apparently, I'm assuming that they were just going to drive it down the road to the aunt's house, I guess, because that's the way he starts to tell the story. And he's like, well, I couldn't do it. He says, I got 300 feet out of my driveway and had a panic attack. Because he's like, I couldn't keep the car on the road. The windshield is just, again, 25-year-old Lexane. You can't really see out of it.
Can't see shit.
The guy's a big guy. Barely fit in the cockpit of the car. He calls the driver's seat a chair. Again, oh, holy fuck. That's another thing.
Driver's chair.
He calls the driver's chair. And so he pulls over and he's got his mechanic buddy with him, and he makes the mechanic buddy, again, they can't even drive it to the aunt's house. The mechanic buddy just drives it back to his house in his barn, gets out of the fucking car, immediately rips a big vape cloud. He starts calling the car nasty, which this guy calls everything nasty, and I love it. Like, I don't know why, it's the weirdest like sort of compliment to call, but he just keeps he calls the car nasty multiple times. And the guy's like, the YouTuber is like, what do you think the car needs? You think it needs bigger tires? And the mechanic's just like, it needs a track, which is true. The car should not be driven on fucking back roads of Tennessee by anyone. So yeah, all the friends are just stunned. They don't fucking know what to make of this car.
Yeah. I love this car sent 2 grown men into full-blown panic attacks within like a 300-foot period.
Yeah, I've never driven a race car before. I would hope I would be able to get it down the road, but
to your aunt's garage.
Yeah, to my aunt's garage. It's just the guy never really explains what the hell he even bought the car for. Like, again, it doesn't make any sense. I think he bought it to like, maybe bring it to events or get it street legal, but he just never.
Brian, can I just cut in here? I don't think he thought about it at all.
It was just a masculine urge that he had. He saw it on Facebook Marketplace.
He took the words right out of my mouth. He saw that thing on like racingjunk.com, which he probably didn't, because he doesn't know about racing.
Well, he does
Facebook buy for sure.
He does mention at one point, he's like, behind the scenes, I've always had a secret obsession with NASCAR. No, you haven't, bud, because you don't know shit about it. You haven't said one accurate thing this whole fucking video.
Talladega Nights twice.
Yeah, that's what that was his obsession. Now here's one of my other favorite parts, and I have a lot of favorite parts in this video. But he starts to go over the car and explain the different parts of it. Opens the hood, no air cleaner on the fucking car. There's no air cleaner on the car. Just running it wide open, whatever you want can get
raw dogging the shit out of it. Yeah, sucking all the mosquitoes in the county up in there.
And then he's got his mechanic buddy who's trying to explain, like, guy's got a custom frame. It's all light as shit. Like, again, that guy's never seen a race car before. He might know how to fix, Hondas, but he's definitely never seen an actual race car before.
He can mismatch your headlight assemblies, but wouldn't trust him with a roll cage.
Yep. And now Mr. Random Review, here's his quote about buying the car. It's a life-changing. He says, it's a life-changing. That's the exact line that he said. It's a life-changing. And then they talk about him wanting to bring the car to Import Alliance at a drag strip and run it against turbo Hondas and Miatas, which will go very poorly for him. He will not win those races. It will not happen. He will get smoked by anything with a turbo. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Those guys also have the benefit of being able to see out their fucking windshields. So I'm telling y'all that this thing is completely like sun-baked, like fucked up. Like, I'm sure there's a way to clean it. And then, in fact, like, if you want to learn about actual stock car racing, I recommend looking in the comments, because there's a lot of folks in there spitting some knowledge. There's a guy who claims to have worked for Bud Moore, who talks about what he should do and like how to figure out where this fucking thing came from. Clearly none of this feedback stuck, but yeah, you want to learn about some ins and outs of building a stock car? Check the comments on this video, and maybe I would recommend the guy who posted the video also read the comments, and maybe he'll learn a thing or two about his impulse buy.
Now, again, this is a new video for us because it doesn't feature any racing, and also there's 3 parts to it. Now,
it's like a Shakespearean.
Yes, all 3 parts are only not even a half an hour, so it goes fast. But video number 2 is very quick. It's only 4 minutes. It's basically just a short video of him getting in the car and then doing some awful burnouts and almost wrecking the car in his front yard,
destroying the engine, redlining and destroying the fucking engine.
Yeah, like
it starts out very artsy, like black and white. Yeah. Fades into color.
Yeah, him just slowly walking up to the barn,
his Days of Thunder dilapidated barn that he's got.
Yeah. It's I don't know how you do burnouts on grass that poorly with an actual race car. Like, it's just insane to me.
My favorite part of the second video is him trying to clean the windshield with his shirt while the shirt is still on his body.
Yeah, it'll do it.
Yep. Got some added sound effects too while he's doing it.
30 fucking years of sitting out in the sun in some guy's backyard will take care of that Lexan, no problem. Yeah.
Yep. And now on to the last video. Now just the
this is the best one.
Yeah, the opening. The video
where
itself,
I start getting annoyed is the third video.
The video itself, like the screenshot they use, they talk about, oh, we broke it. And that immediately makes me think that they fucked up the car real bad. We'll get to that. But the goal of this video is to learn how to do a burnout with a manual car. This guy talks about how he's owned all these Crown Vics, and if you know those cars, they weren't, none of them were stock manual, so they're all automatics. And this guy admits that he's never done a burnout with a manual transmission car. Now, I'll admit that I've never done a burnout with a manual rear-wheel drive car, but I've done plenty of burnouts with front-wheel drive cars, and it's really not that difficult.
Yeah. This guy is pretty gracious about his shortcomings. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he does admit his faults. But yeah, he makes a few attempts at this burnout, and we'll go through each one of them. Actually, no, I've got a couple of minutes. Again, the title, we broke it. He's now apparently Rob, going back to your comment, he must have read some of the comments, or at least did a tiny bit of research, because now the car is from 1991. It's no longer from 1997.
See, that makes more sense, right?
Yeah. Now there's a sequence of him trying to start the car, and he's putting like fluid in the fucking in the dashboard, and there's a shot of where the pedals are, and it's all rusty, and there's water and shit all over the place. And it's
probably because whatever he's pouring in is probably just dropping straight through the dash.
Yeah. Now the first attempt. Now we should also say he is trying to do these burnouts on maybe 15 to 20 square feet of concrete. That's it. That's all he's got. That's all he's got.
Parking space.
Also, before he makes these attempts, he puts on his lucky Daytona jacket
From like
which-
2017. Like,
yeah,
not even
which
cool.
is this thick, heavy ass jacket on an already large man trying to climb in this car, and it's hot outside.
It looks
They're
hot.
pouring sweat and like chugging water.
Yeah,
So
definitely
he set
some
himself up for failure.
Yeah.
straight up.
Straight
The first attempt doesn't even spin the tires, just stalls the car out.
I love this fucking video so much.
It's so good.
It's my favorite one we've done so far.
The second attempt, he kind of breaks the back tires loose and he gets the car a little bit crooked, and then it, again, immediately stalls the car out. He calls the attempt a very violent attempt. He's like, I watched the footage. It was very violent. It was not violent at all. And what happens after this is we get to the part where they break the car, or so they say. What happens is he can't get the car restarted, and when he tries starting it, it just sounds like a flywheel spinning. So his mechanic buddy is back, and what the actual problem was, and again, this is all clickbait bullshit to make you think. I was hoping he would have, blown the clutch out or blown the motor or something, some actual real damage, and all he did was flood the thing. His mechanic buddy gets it all started and cleans the plugs and all that shit. So the third attempt, again, just as bad as the second. And the fourth attempt, he is just burning the fuck out of the clutch. You could just hear the motor going sky high, and the tires aren't doing anything. They're not even spinning.
You can smell this video. Like,
yeah, it's just,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
it's just awful. Oh, and you know what? I fucked the sequence up. It was after the fourth attempt is when he ran out of gas and flooded the car and everything. I fucked that all up. Regardless, the point is the guy can't do a goddamn burnout.
I would say that he killed it, but not in the way he thinks he did.
Yeah. So after his mechanic buddy comes over and figures out the problem, he lets the mechanic jump in the car, and the mechanic does a couple kind of burnouts with it, but something's going on with the brakes because he can only lock up one of the wheels. You have way too small of a contact patch. You've got dirt tires on a dirty concrete surface that aren't going to even stick. The mechanic, he's talking about the car. He keeps calling the car nasty again, which I love. And then they go back and forth about putting either skinny tires on the back or drag slicks on the back. Neither of which will fit.
There we go.
So that for now ends the saga. These 3 videos were released fall of last year, and to date, there's been no updates on the car. He's just back to Crown Vic content. So I'm going to subscribe to this guy, and if and when there's any sort of new NASCAR video of this NASCAR car, whatever the fuck you want to call it, there will be an update.
Appointment viewing.
Yes. So go follow or go watch Mr. Random Reviewer. We'll have all 3 of these videos in the Video of the Week playlist. It is well worth your time. And another thing I'll admit is I'm going to start seeking out some of these videos of guys who buy old stock cars. I've seen a couple, and most of the guys who get them tend to know what they're doing. They either have money or they have experience with race cars. There was one guy that I watched who he bought an old Newman, Ryan Newman Nextel or Alltel Dodge, and he brought it to Daytona and actually wrecked it. Not too bad, but he got loose and fucking broke the front bumper. So that was entertaining, but I might start digging some of these up and posting them because they're just, it's interesting to me because I would love to own a race car someday. I probably never will.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I would be I know I'd be more knowledgeable and experienced than this YouTuber guy, but I still wouldn't know what the fuck I'm doing as far as working on it.
What's the guy who went to the Morgan McClure shop and looked at Sterling Marlin's cars? Stapleton 42, right?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his content. I don't really watch it. I mean, he goes to some interesting places, but I just don't really like him, so I don't watch his shit.
Those videos in particular, I haven't seen anything but those 2 videos about Sterling's cars. Those are awesome, by the way. You should check those out. But
I think the first one that I saw that I kind of got a kick out of was I don't know where it was stored, but one of DW's old transporters for his Bush car. It was like just
that cab over,
Yeah, and they go through it, and there's like some trophies and shit. Like basically, DW just parked it somewhere in somebody's house, and the guy finds it and goes through it and finds some like shirts and
That
trophies.
shit is awesome. Yeah, that's actually how I got turned on to his channel. Now that I think about it, was that video.
Yep. So yeah, that's our video of the week. Next week we might go back to some more standard content as far as race footage goes. Maybe not. Maybe I'll find something even weirder. Who knows?
Maybe this guy will post some new shit about how he's ruined this car even further.
Maybe somebody will send him this podcast and he'll get a fire under his ass and post something else. So if you want to do that, let's by all means. I would love to engage with this guy a little.
Seriously, he seems like he's probably actually got fun. Just way over his head.
For sure. So that's our show for this week. Moving on to next week, or this coming weekend, I should say. NASCAR is back on the high banks of Talladega, and our favorite, Mike Harmon, is back.
That's right, Mike Harmon is back.
Is he in trucks or is he in Xfinity?
He's driving Xfinity Series. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
And he's actually a pretty good pickup if you're gambling. He's gotten some top 20s. In the past few times he's run. Most of his races he's run in the past 5 years have all been on super speedways, and he's okay. And he's definitely going to be cheap as fuck. So I would keep an eye on Mike Harmon.
One thing I forgot to mention last week, and shout out to my buddy Isaac. He is world's biggest Scott Wimmer fan. If you just look up Scott Wimmer on Twitter, he's going to pop up because there's nobody else talking about Scott Wimmer like he does.
The only one.
Last month, he found a Mike Harmon autographed race used fire suit card on eBay, and I bought it. I had to buy it because this fire suit, I'm not a card guy. I've only got a couple. But this fire suit piece they use, it is just definitely a suit that Mike probably had for a decade, and just it's all sun bleached and faded to fuck. Like it probably smelled gross as hell when he sent it to Upper Deck or Tops or whoever made this card.
Yep.
It was such a gross. It was the grossest race used memorabilia card I've ever seen, and it had Mike on it, so I had to buy it. I think it was like $6 or something. So
awesome.
Well worth it. Worth it.
Oh shit, we got fan questions.
We do have fan questions. Shit, might as well answer these real quick before we.
Yeah, forgot about that. Thanks for sending these in. We got a couple of them here.
First,
what do you want to do first?
We'll do Dylan because Dylan, my buddy Dylan, he wrote in with another question. Rob, you can read it though.
All right, this is your carton buddy, right?
Yep.
Cool. So last week on Spotify, of course, is where these questions do come from. So if you want to ask us a question, visit us on Spotify, and you could respond in there. You can also hit us up in our DMs, Twitter, all that shit.
Yeah. Anyway.
But Dylan says, the reason I say this is because the question was, how about that tail that Ty Gibbs has? And Dylan responds with, speaking of tails, my girlfriend is sick of seeing Larson win and thinks he practices witchcraft. His third eye mole is a sign that he sold his soul to the devil. What say you to this claim? Great question, Dylan. And I'll lead this one off. Larson's won twice. Come on, it's not that big of a deal. But I do think that Rick Hendrick has made some sort of deal with the Clintons or the lizard people that run this world, and they're going to clean the fucking table off this year and just completely win a bunch of shit. So if anyone's got something going on in the esoteric realm, I'm going to say it's Mr. H.
Yeah, I think Dylan was dating the same girl a few years ago when Larson was winning a ton. So it's an interesting opinion to have after him kind of having an off season and now winning. Again, he's won twice out of 9 races, but I don't know if we're gonna see another year like he had in 2021. But he's
God, I hope not.
I think we're gonna look at a year where Hendrick really just really kicks a lot of ass this year. I think True Love's going to have some good weekends as a Chase Elliott fan. Mm-hmm. Alex Bowman was leading the points before those penalties came in, the little extra attaboy windshield wiper penalties that Hendrick got as a little fuck you for appealing and showing how bullshit that whole system was. But he'd be leading the points otherwise. He's almost in the top 10 every single week. Again, Larson and Byron ripping off wins. I think it's only a matter of time before Chase comes back and does it. So I think we're in for a long year of Hendrick Chevrolet dominance. And I would actually, signs do point to some sort of triangular pyramid-shaped yacht activity going on out there with the Liberty guys, making sacrifices with children's blood and all that to make this happen. So
Yeah.
We have another fan question.
Ashley, do you even have any follow up to that? I mean, this is your technically it's your team here. I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah.
did I cover that for you? Or?
You just kind of threw me off there. But to answer his question directly, I do agree with his girlfriend that Larson did indeed sell his soul to the devil after 2020 to be able to return to the Cup Series and have that season that he did.
And you know what?
Now it's the effects are just kind of wearing off.
Real quick, we got to mention this too. What we're mentioned since you just mentioned 2020, Kyle has already been named one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, which, to be fair, he is.
Rightfully so. Yeah.
But it was announced on the 3rd anniversary of the incident.
Yeah.
Like the day it happened. So just I don't know. If that doesn't tell you something weird's happening with that whole situation, I don't know what else.
Robert Johnson and whiteface kind of deal. Like, can I say that?
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. And I'll read the second one. This is from our buddy Chris, who he's one of our fantasy league members. With the inconsistencies of most of the recent penalties in NASCAR and also the charter agreement in need of reaching a deal with teams, etc., you think we could see a driver owners going on strike in the future? Second, will we be getting a preview or post-race review of the Stafford Spring Sizzler? Answer that second question first, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is Chris Davis, a good buddy of mine. We are going to the Sizzler together, as far as I know, and if he backs out on me, I'm going to be very fucking upset. But there will be a full breakdown of that. It's going to be a big weekend up here in modified country. There's already like 40 cars on the American Canadian Tour roster. There's 40 cars on the modified side of things. It's going to be a huge weekend, and I'm definitely going to talk about that shit here on the show.
Is it this weekend?
It's it's not this weekend, but the following weekend. So last weekend of April. So it's 2 days. The Sizzler and Stafford in general is just one of the nicest short tracks you're ever going to go to be perfectly honest. It's what you want out of a racetrack. It's modern, but it retains that old school feel. There's a reason why it's featured year in and year out on SRX. They have fucking screens, like giant, like screens out in the infield. So like they're definitely, they have safer barriers now too. So don't read too much into that, but they're making steps here. So Stafford, I think, is a facility you're going to hear a lot more about in the greater racing world coming up. But yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. But to answer the question one, I don't know. It's tough to really have an opinion whether or not we're going to see anything come out of that. I think the answer is ultimately no.
Yeah.
This is not a situation like the IRL kart split in the mid 90s or even the previous one in the 70s with the white papers and all that. Like it's, NASCAR owns half the tracks, and I really don't think that SMI is going to break loose from its corporate ties with NASCAR either in any sort of union type split, and I think that there's way too much money on the table for these teams to even consider taking a weekend off. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that because it certainly happened in the 90s, but this is certainly without precedent as far as I can tell. What do you guys think?
Well, no, they tried. They tried in '69. That they tried in Talladega.
That's true. That's true.
And that didn't go well for anyone. It didn't go well for NASCAR. It didn't go well for the drivers. That was the closest. That was probably the closest they came at that point to actually enabling any type of drivers union at the time.
I would say it's unprecedented just because there wasn't as much corporate involvement as there is now. There's not as many billion-dollar hands in the pot as we see today. So I think that even if the teams were on board with the idea, I don't think FedEx or Napa are going to be stoked on that. So
yeah, I mean, there was
good fucking luck.
There was a whole thing a few weeks ago about how there was a weekly driver owners meeting that all the drivers, skipped out on, or the owners skipped out on. But after the fact, that was less of a deal than it was made out to be. Apparently, I think Denny said it was sort of talked about that people weren't going to show up to it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't see a strike happening. I think especially after the IRL kart split, and how badly that affected those two leagues and IndyCar in general. I think everybody involved in NASCAR will do whatever they can to prevent that from happening. That said, I mean, it's definitely a very confusing time, both as a fan and as someone who involved in the sport from an ownership perspective, as far as, you know, all the money and how that's divvied up and sponsorship and, you know, not to mention the safety of the cars and stuff and how they perform. There's just so many things that NASCAR is in control of that needs to change. And I don't know how to do that and still have the sport continue how it does now. You know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think you're probably, and again, like, what are they going to do? Is the Card Series going to be the Cup Series now? No, of course not. No. It's going to be a huge step backwards as far as the money and the prestige is concerned. I do definitely see sort of a shift towards grassroots, particularly super late model racing, that sort of thing. It's kind of an oxymoron now, I guess, grassroots super late model racing, since those cars are fucking expensive to run. But I do see that sort of becoming more of a focus for the more old school type folks. And as if NASCAR chooses to move in a more street circuit, temporary circuit kind of thing, like we kind of see them doing, you might actually see the sort of poles of this planet we all live on kind of separate further, you know? But I don't think that anybody involved right now is just going to stop racing to make a point. I think it's going to be a long period of the lifers kind of peeling off and doing their own thing, and NASCAR continuing down whatever path they're going to go to, if we're going to see any sort of split. But I don't think there's any sort of dramatic, you know, Major League Baseball lockout thing coming anytime in the near future. So what do you think, True Love?
Sorry, I got distracted by Brian's dog barking in the back.
I'm in a completely different room. I don't know how the hell you guys can hear that.
Sounds like a good dog.
No, but yeah, there's just too much on the line with sponsors, and like no one wants to sacrifice points, like boycotting a race or whatever. So
yeah, so that is this week's trip to Applebee's. Check the menu, and we'll see you guys next week. As always, I can be found at Speedway Screens on social media, speedwaytsj.etsy.com. Follow us at Meet Me at Applebee's on Instagram, and Meet Me at Dubbies on Twitter, and check out our YouTube and all that stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. You guys gonna plug yourself?
I was waiting for True Love to say her.
I wasn't really gonna do that this week.
You can follow my band at These Wild Plains. I'm Rob Moats Rob Moats _ unofficial on Instagram and Twitter and all that shit. We should be announcing some music and shows coming up pretty soon. That's what every fucking band says, but it's going to be happening at some point. And if you want to link up with us and buy some merch and give me some beer money, that's the place to do it, is at thesewildplains.com. And now over to True Love. True Love?
Yeah, I might be at Talladega this weekend. I'm not sure yet.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah.
I thought you said you had a ticket.
I do have a ticket, but, you know, then we had
the family stuff.
Death in the family, so it's kind of up in the air right now. But
so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I've never been to Talladega either. We should all do that at some point.
I'd love to do that. Before we shove off, you guys got anything you want to say about Talladega?
No, I mean, I'm psyched on Mike Harmon.
Too wide for 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Talladega, I guess. I mean, what can you fucking say? There's no strategy. There's no nothing. You just hope whoever you bet on that day is the one that makes it through the mess and is up there at the end.
That's right.
At least that's my goal.
That's right. Put money on Riley Herbst. That's my big fucking hot take for the week.
Okay, I'll do that for you. I'll put $1 on him.
Yeah, he'll get a top 10.
Okay.
What?
No, I believe he's been doing okay this year, so it could happen.
He's like fourth in points, doing good.
I'm talking about the Cup race.
Oh, is he in the Cup race?
Oh, yeah. Fuck, that's right. He's. We didn't even. Did we talk about Cody? Did we talk about Cody Ware last week, or was that this week?
Yeah,
the episode was named after him. That's enough.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, duh. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.